Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jerry Springer.
Thank you. No crowding, no crowding. Careful.
Back him up.
Yeah.
Please, 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 no pushing.
What's going on, Gene?
Well, you know, I come up come up with a lot of ideas. I got an idea, Megan.
What you got, Gene?
Well, hey, by the way, do you know that Jerry is kind of and you said this on an episode previously, he's kind of a savant.
He is, yes.
In a savant, you would define
Very specific and unusual intelligence.
intelligence. Photographic memory might be a part of that.
How do you spell
Very,
that?
yeah, very unusual, specific.
And by the way, give him the respect that's due. He's a Tulane graduate. That's
Yes.
a great school, by the way, a great private school, university.
Great football team.
New Orleans. Yeah, right. He's a Northwestern University law grad.
Yeah.
He was one of
gosh.
the smartest kids at Forest Hills High School. He's very bright. In fact, I'll make this point. Right now, Jerry, this is unrehearsed. It's not. We hadn't
It's certainly
discussed it.
unrehearsed, I'll tell you that.
Name the presidents from start to finish.
Do it.
Go. Name them.
George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce,
Now hold
James
up, by the way,
Buchanan,
because he can
Abraham
go all the
Lincoln.
way through. He can go all the way
crazy.
through, Megan.
It's
So I mean,
insane.
you can tell that he can go all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry.
You really
In
didn't tell me you were
no,
gonna
we
do
didn't.
this.
In 1940 something, maybe 50 something.
Yeah.
You watched I believe it was the Ingemar Johansson.
1959.
Patterson fight?
January 26th.
Say-
June 26th, 1959.
Recite right now what the
Good evening,
radio.
Americans and everyone across the sea in Canada and Europe. Johansson and Patterson, their third meeting in the guessing game, right up to ringside. At long range, Patterson is stiff left jab as Johansson in black trunks, both men in black trunks, circling around from left to right. Patterson up.
Megan, is
shoots
he
two-
reading
Are
it?
you kidding
Megan,
me?
is he reading it? He's
No,
not.
that is sick.
Unbelievable.
It is. I'll tell you why I remember that. Well, I had just gotten, I was a big fan of boxing, and Ingemar Johansson was this guy from Sweden, and he was so unlike what you think boxers are. I mean, you know, he read Shakespeare, he was in the theater. He just had this very powerful right hand, and he was pretty much of a playboy.
Yeah.
So he came over to America. It was like 10-1 that he would lose the fight against Patterson for the heavyweight championship. But he was from Sweden, and he came to America. He brought his girlfriend. He was living with his girlfriend, which was unheard of. And they went up to
Scandalous.
Grow Singers, a resort in the Catskills, and to train for the fight. But he didn't train. He just sat around and played the guitar. And for a half hour a day, he would close the gym, and he would have what he called his training. He says, I don't need to train because I got thunder and lightning. He had a right hand, which was the most powerful right hand in boxing. He says, if I land the right hand, the fight's over. And everyone thought, oh, this is nonsense. This is garbage. But it was a televised fight. This was going to be great. And Patterson, as I said, was a 10-1 favorite. And I just thought, oh, this was great. Now, my dad, back then, fights were on radio.
Sure.
And so you just listen to a heavyweight championship fight on radio was really exciting because you picture it there, and the announcers are talking so fast. There's a left, there's a right, down goes Patterson, you know, and they're doing all that stuff. So, but for the first time, they were going to show the fight in movie theaters. It was closed circuit. So you would buy a ticket, go to the local movie theater, and watch the fight. Huh. So David and I went to the thing. This was really exciting. I had just for my prior birthday, my parents got me a tape recorder. Remember those big spool tape recorders? And so Dad taped the radio broadcast of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I asked, could you do that? And we went to the fight, and it was so exciting. Johansson won. I was just going crazy. And I listened to that tape so many times
You memorized.
that now, 70 years later, I've just...
But you can do other stuff. Take New
can
York,
do
New York
others.
Yankee history. You know everything. You probably know.
It's weird with his
what is this,
memory
a
of
pop
dates
quiz?
is crazy.
Jerry, here's the point. You asked the right questions. That shows how smart he is. Megan. There's an app called HQ.
Yeah, yeah,
You put it on your phone.
yeah. I have it.
And it plays 2 times a day, at 3 and then at 9 at night. It's coming up here as we are recording this episode. And it's 12 questions. It's trivia. It's this kind of crap that he knows.
Crap.
It is.
No,
crap.
stuff. No, valuable information. I've tried, Megan, I've been playing it. I can't get past 5 or 6. It's
Yeah, I think
12.
six is like my limit.
And tonight there's like at 9 o'clock, $5,000 on the line. On the weekend, I think it was like 50 grand or something last weekend.
Yeah, 20 grand. Yeah, 20. or
Something
50.
like that. If you can get to the 12th question and get it right, then you split the money with whomever else got that far, and that's a small number of people. I propose that starting tonight, when we get together, on a previous episode, we talked about bonding. It would help our team,
We
me,
could
and Jared. if
monetize
bond.
him.
We can monetize it. Here's what we're
love
going to
it.
do tonight at 9 o'clock as we're having our post show and then planning dinner.
No, I'm going to
Skyline Chili.
Yeah,
No.
I'm eating chili.
While we're there, I'm going to pull it up. I got to make sure I got plenty of battery. We're going to pull it up, Megan, and then we're going to have Jerry.
No.
And I'm going to be the one because it goes to my PayPal account. And then we're going to have Jerry. And every question's multiple choice. Where I
Oh,
went
he'll
to
pull it
college,
out of
it's
the
called
water.
multiple guess, by the way.
Yeah.
But multiple choice. And you're going to say, Jerry, which one? Which one? You got 10 seconds to answer.
I don't see, and this is the truth. I don't know trivia. I
You
mean,
don't?
I don't know pop culture trivia. I mean, when people don't like, if
You
you
are
mention-
pop culture trivia. How do you not
yeah.
know it?
That's a good point.
Like your answers
no,
for some
when
of
people
these.
talk about various popular songs or various groups or whatever, you know, and the kids who work on our kids, in
kids.
their 20s, 30s, they work on our show. You know, they're all talking about these things. I don't have a clue. And even some of the references that people make on stage about what's going on, the language. I don't mean dirty language. I'm just talking about,
Sure.
whatever the colloquialisms are. I have no
I think we're going to be okay because HQ doesn't get, from what I've noticed, get so much into pop culture stuff. It's more brainiac stuff, nerd stuff. It's like
You're a big
planets,
nerd.
science,
Huge.
math. It's literature.
Yeah.
I think, Jerry, you got to get us to the finish line. I got to give me some money. And
Need
so
some walking around money over there.
What's
Yeah.
different than a normal week?
Yeah, normal
I
week,
have some
yeah.
money.
Another week that
Yeah.
Gene's trying to get
Get some
money.
money. We don't need to play a game. Just do your regular begging, and
you
then
got
we'll get it.
You got it. You got it. Well, it's a. I think we can do it, and we got to do it. We just got to do this. And by the way, we had last week
Actually,
on our
I'm not allowed
podcast-
to. I'm a professional.
Yeah, you're a professional. We had
It's an amateur game. I can't.
a duo last week, really unusual pair, 2 guys called Dog Yop, DAWGYAWP, Dog Yop, and they are unique.
Very.
A sitar and a guitar, and great singers, great blended voices. So they're going to be, we asked them if they would come back, and they have agreed to. So we have them again tonight. And Jerry, we wanted to ask you, North Korea is a big topic in America these days. And today, as we record this podcast, the head of South Korea was in Washington, D.C. at the White House meeting with our President Donald Trump. And they're strategizing about this August 12th summit that is set with the head of North Korea. And what is your take on these ongoing developments? It kind of changes sometimes by the week, but what's your take on North Korea these days?
Well, obviously, as we're recording this, we don't know whether that's going to take place, but whether or not it takes place, I think we know the final result, at least in part, and that is North Korea is not going to give up all its nuclear weapons. That is a fantasy. And let's just very quickly review the history. After World War II, Japan surrendered, of course, and then the victors, in this case the Soviet Union and the United States, would basically divide up much of the world in terms of which countries had been defeated during the war. And for example, Eastern Europe went mostly into the Soviet column. Berlin was divided up among the 4 powers of the Allies. And then Southeast Asia. And when Japan surrendered, there was the Korean Peninsula. And it became occupied by the Soviet Union and the United States. They divided it up. In the middle of the country was what we call the 38th parallel. Everything north of the 38th parallel, the Soviet Union took over. And everything south of the parallel, the United States initially occupied. And so that's how we got North and South Korea. But the United States then very quickly, President Truman became very concerned about suddenly the expansion of the Soviet Union. I mean, it was really moving very quickly to what we thought at that point was to try to take over much of the world with communism. That was the great fear. North Korea sent troops into South Korea. In fact, so successfully in the late 1940s, 1950, and got all the way down to Seoul. Finally, the United States went to the United Nations, said we have to stop this. The United States passed a resolution. By the way, the United Nations passed a resolution. The only reason the resolution passed is because the Soviet Union didn't veto it, and they didn't veto it because they were boycotting the United Nations at the time. They weren't happy that the United Nations didn't recognize, at that time, Communist China. So, the United Nations troops, under the direction of General Douglas MacArthur, pushed back the North Koreans to the 38th parallel, and then Douglas MacArthur wanted to go even further. So he goes all the way up through North Korea, and he's ready to go into China. President Truman says, whoa, stop. We're not going to go into China and all of a sudden start another world war. MacArthur wanted to do it. MacArthur was lobbying various senators to try to get that done. Truman found out about it. We have a civilian government. We can't let generals run the country. And so he fired, very famously, Douglas MacArthur. There was a big uproar. But in any event, the troops came back, and there we had, starting in 1950, the 38th parallel, the North Korea and South Korea. And we had a war. Now, Stalin, the head of the Soviet Union, wanted to continue this war because he wanted to expand communism. So it was a serious war. We lost 38,000 American soldiers were killed in the Korean War, 38,000. And 1.2 million or so civilians were killed over there. So we talk about World War II, but a hell of a lot of people died in the Korean War. Stalin wanted to expand, etc. Eisenhower ran for president, and then in 1952 got elected on the promise that if I'm elected, I will go to Korea and end the war. And Eisenhower was a world hero in a sense, you know, having been the guy that led the forces that won the Second World War. And so he had real, gravitas. He goes to Korea, and two things happen. A month or two before, Stalin died. And so now it wasn't clear who was going to lead the Soviet Union. So suddenly there was no one in the Soviet Union suddenly pushing the continuation of the Korean War. And so Eisenhower was able to get a truce. And so what we have since 1953 is an armistice. North Korea, South Korea, facing each other at the 38th parallel. And there's an armistice, so there's virtually no shooting. Every once in a while there's an incident, but basically a non-shooting war that to this moment there has not been a signed peace. It looks like a possibility that in the next month or two we could get a signed peace, at least on the Korean War. Now, North Korea, in the meantime, has gotten nuclear weapons. And of course, that's a great fear of the rest of the world because it's a tyrannical government. It appears to be totally unstable in terms of the three leaders it's had, all from the same family, grandfather, then father, then the son. And this regime has run total dictatorial country, and they keep the rest of the world out. It's a scary place, and we don't want them to have nuclear weapons. But we don't always get what we want. So what Trump originally was saying in trying to get, something going on with Korea, which no other president so far has been able to do, is Trump initially was saying they got to get rid of their nuclear weapons or we'll obliterate them. And they were getting into a pardon the language, a pissing contest. Kim Jong-un and Trump, who was the bigger guy, who had the bigger missiles. I mean, it was embarrassing, but that's what was going on. And then suddenly, a couple of weeks ago, it looks like, oh, wait a second. Kim Jong-un said, yeah, I'll sit down and talk with the president and be willing to talk about denuclearizing North Korea, starting to get rid of the weapons. But starting to get rid of the weapons is what every American president has dealt with, and it never really happens. So, where are we now? Trump is now saying, because he doesn't want it to look like he wasn't able to do better than the other American presidents, saying, I'll meet with him, but he has to agree to get rid of all his nuclear weapons, period. Not gradually, but boom, overnight, like they did in Libya. Well, now at first it seemed like, oh, wow, this could really happen. So for all the bad things we say about Trump, this could have been something good. But it never seemed to make sense, and now Kim Jong-un is kind of going back on it. The reason North Korea won't give up its nuclear weapons is because that is the one thing, and perhaps the only thing, which has kept the regime for these 70 years, 65 years, in power. Because no one wants to attack a country that has nuclear weapons. That is its security. The day that Kim Jong-un gives up North Korea's nuclear weapons, Koreans absolutely believe it's their Bible that America will eventually invade, that America will get rid of the regime and take over the country. They believe that. You and I can sit here and say, we're not going to take over North Korea. We have no interest in doing that. We just don't want the nuclear weapon. They don't believe that. And because it has been drilled into their heads since early 50s that America will invade North Korea. Remember, we're the only country in the history of the world to drop a nuclear bomb, the atom bomb. So it's not like, oh, America would never do that. And the people in Southeast Asia also remember the Vietnam War with the napalm and how we destroyed villages and all the people that were killed there. So these people, their nuclear weapons is not because they want to blow up the world. They believe that we really will invade them. So why would they give it up? Now, I know Trump has said, and maybe for the moment he believes it, look, you give up those weapons and we are going to give you economic aid. Life is going to be great for you people. We'll sign the deal, I promise you. Well, why is he going to believe that? Just 2 months ago, we ripped up the Iran nuclear deal, right? I mean, Trump got out of the environmental pact, also out of the trade deals. He changes his mind. Why, knowing that your only security is having those nuclear weapons, that means no one will invade you, why would you give that up? Even if Trump were honest, how do you know the next president's going to stick by the deal? We have now set the precedence. This was the danger of Trump, of what he's been doing. We have let the world know that there's no purpose in making a deal with us because a deal can always be ripped up. It can be ripped up by the same president. It can be ripped up by a new president. So when you're in an argument, a debate, lawsuit, negotiations, whatever it is, you always have to put yourself in the position of the opposition. There is no reason North Korea would give up its nuclear weapons. So what we have to do is to recognize we have to start bringing North Korea into the family of nations. There have to be negotiations. There has to be, maybe they will have some lesser weapons. Maybe they'll give up some of it. Maybe there'll be more economic aid. Maybe we got to do all that stuff because as soon as a country becomes part of the community of nations, it is less likely to want to go to war. There's a reason no one has ever fired nuclear weapons after we dropped the atom bomb. Because everybody knows that the first missile you set off is the end of your existence. Everybody knows that if North Korea sends off one missile, the nation will be obliterated. Everyone will be dead. They know that. And everybody knows that. Look, we had the Cold War for 50 years. Soviet Union and America, we could blow up the world 100 times over. And nobody ever did, because everybody knew the first missile is the end of the world or the end of your country. And that's the same thing with North Korea. So we need to start bringing them into the family of nations. We need to sign the peace agreement for the end of the Korean War after all these years. We need to start to negotiate some of their development, make them less hostile, give them less reason to want to go to war. That will build assurances that we're not going to invade them. That is what we ought to be doing in Korea.
All right, as Gene mentioned, we have our friends Dog Yelp back here this evening. We're excited to have them. Hey, guys.
Hello
How's
again.
it going?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Welcome back.
Been a while.
Yeah, sure has.
Yeah. You could have at least changed your outfit.
Same for you there, Springer.
Oh,
That's what my mom says to me all the time. Tearing up.
And why don't you guys introduce yourselves? I'm sorry, we didn't talk about that last week.
I'm Tyler Randall playing the sitar.
And I'm Rob Keenan playing the guitar.
Guitar and sitar, love it. All right, so what do you have prepared for us this evening, gentlemen?
So this next song is a new song we've been working on called Tearing Up.
Tearing up. Mm-hmm. All right.
Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up. Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up. Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up.
Seems to me it isn't like it used to be. If I only knew then how beautiful it was, I would have stayed a little longer. I'm in a cage as I sit and ponder.
Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up.
Now I see all the things that could never be. Was it just because I wasn't strong enough?
Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up. Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up. Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up.
I should have stayed a little longer. I'm in a cage as I sit and ponder.
tearing up, tearing up. Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up. Tearing up, tearing up, tearing up.
That was awesome. You said that's newer. You guys have just written that, or just started working on it?
Yeah, it's a new one. We recorded it.
We've recorded it, but we haven't released it yet.
Okay. Now, when do you guys have an album coming out anytime soon, or all in process right now?
We have all these songs done, and we've changed some things up on the business side, so we're just kind of waiting for the right time to
Sure.
release them into the wild right now. And
Release them to the world.
yeah, we really like them.
In the meantime, we can check you guys out on Spotify, and where else can we hear your music?
You can go to NPR. We did a Tiny Desk concert a little while ago.
Very cool. Very, very cool. What are you going to play for us next?
We're going to play a song called Lost at Sea.
Lost at Sea. Okay.
And we usually do it with electric guitars in the background and bass and drums and stuff, so this will be a stripped-down acoustic version.
Cool. Lost at Sea with Dog Yelp.
Lost at sea is where you'll find me. It's got everything I want, but nothing that I need. Does anybody feel all this talk ain't real? Does anybody see that the truth is in the mystery? Could it be sweet? Standing on my feet, I don't know, but I'm gonna try. Thinking up ways not to wash up in a Could it be sweet? Everybody's telling me it's not too hard. If you keep swimming, it don't seem far. There's a place you can go where you'll never be alone, and you'll always be free. lost at sea. Could it be sweet? Lost at sea. I don't know how they're gonna find me. Now I'm lost at sea, and there's no way to deny. Could it be sweet? If I'm ever talking like I don't care, look at me and smile, baby, take me there.
Thank you, guys. That was really cool. Very, very cool.
Thank you.
Again, this is Dog Yop, and we can check them out on Spotify. Check out their music. We love having you guys back tonight. Thank you so
We love being
much.
here.
Yeah, let's hear it again for him, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
All right. You know what time it is, Jerry? Y'all warmed up? You ready to do this?
Okay, I think I'm ready.
Well, Down by the Riverside. Thanks a lot, guys.
We're gonna jump right into it. Gonna lay down our heavy load. Gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my heavy load down by the.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.